A former Garda who impersonated one of his female colleagues online and encouraged strangers to come to her house to rape her and her young daughters has been sentenced this morning to 7 years in prison at the Central Criminal Court. Will you give us the background to this case? Because the sentencing happened today.
That's right. This is a deeply disturbing and shocking case. And thank God this Garda wasn't successful in what can only be described as his warped endeavours and desires. In terms of background, we heard that he and the woman were known to each other, both members of an Garda Síochána at the relevant times. They were friends outside of work, but there was no history of any sexual or romantic relationship between them. In late 2020, Shane Flanagan set up an account on a fetish website called FetLife. He used her personal information to do that. He also used photographs of her and her two daughters, many of which he had taken from her social media profiles. And the court heard about something called CNC, consensual non-consent, which is a fetish where one person gives advanced consent to another to rape them at an agreed place. And it was through that website that Shane Flanagan impersonated this woman and essentially lured two men to rape her on the pretense that she was into this CNC. He engaged with both those men online, pretended to be her, gave quite detailed descriptions about her desire to have them break into her home and rape her or to kidnap her while she was out for a jog. We heard he went so far as to send on her actual address and air code, details about her home, the car that she was driving at the time. He engaged in a lot of detailed chat online described by the judge today as graphic and disturbing. And he even suggested and proposed dates for when it should happen in these conversations with the men online, again under the pretense they were talking to this female colleague of his. As to how he was caught, well, one of those men that he had engaged online did a bit of his own due diligence, managed to make contact with the woman through her legitimate Facebook page. She had no idea what this man was talking about, began her own investigation. She set up a fake account on
was this one of these individuals actually propositioning her instead of, doing what this guy had suggested, coming and pretending to break in, but in fact being welcomed? He was actually propositioning her directly, was he? Or was he warning her?
No. As I say, he was doing his own due diligence. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he was 100% convinced that he was speaking to this woman and not a Garda by the name of Shane Flanagan. So he did his own due diligence, he did his own research. He found that this woman had a legitimate Facebook account. And when communications had stalled somewhat online between him and this fake account, he contacted her through her legitimate account to see and to ask why she had ceased communications. And that's when he realised that something was up. He cooperated with the Gardaí. He reached out to Gardaí. The woman herself did her own investigations, and it later emerged through a painstaking investigation, I have to say, that Shane Flanagan was the one behind that FetLife account. His home was searched, his laptop, phone among the items seized, and they proved to be the main pieces of evidence in the case against him. He was arrested back in April of 2022 and made certain admissions. He apologised for what he had done. He claimed in his interviews that he thought it was just harmless role play. The Gardaí spoke to both those men. Again, they both were convinced that it was genuine. They both thought they were talking to this woman. Both understood her to be fully consenting to them coming to her home to rape her. They were both given details of how and when it would take place. There was extensive continued discussion about what exactly was to happen. One of them told Gardaí that whoever did this must really hate the woman. As I say, her address and air code were given to them. They were real. And if either of those men had gone ahead with a plan, it would have had devastating consequences for her and her family. There was also talk of them wearing balaclavas when they broke into the house, using a blade of some sort. There was excruciating detail of how they would rape her. And neither of those men suspected for 1 second that they were talking to someone other than her, let alone a serving male Garda. That's how convincing Shane Flanagan was in his interactions with them.
There were all sorts of things on his laptop, child pornography, kids between the age of 8 and 15, and all sorts of stuff, very unsavoury stuff. So the judge, in sentencing him to 7 years, I mean, we're glad he's been locked away, but what did the judge have to say?
The judge made a number of comments before she handed down that 7-year sentence. And I should say at the outset that the maximum penalties are very, very serious offences. incitement to rape alone can carry a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. Endangerment charges, which he pleaded guilty to, maximum penalty there of 7 years. And in relation to the possession of child pornography, that is a maximum penalty on conviction of 5 years. So very, very serious offending. The judge today described the conversations that Shane Flanagan had with these men online as extremely graphic and disturbing. The content of those conversations, at least extracts of those conversations, were opened in court at a previous sentence hearing. There's no need to go through those this morning. But the judge said it was clear that the offending has had a profound impact on the victims, because aside from the fear that he undoubtedly caused them, there was also a sense of deep betrayal, given the fact that they had been colleagues, they had been friends outside of the workplace. The judge described Shane Flanagan's thinking as distorted. She described the offending as an egregious breach of trust. She said that he placed all of his victims in real danger, something that he would have been very live to, given his work as a Garda for 18 years. She described what he did as cold, calculated, motivated by his own needs for sexual gratification. And she said that he showed a breathtaking disregard for the safety of this woman and her daughters. She, the judge that is, initially landed on a headline sentence of 10 years. So a headline sentence is essentially a sentence pre-mitigation. She then took all of the mitigating factors into account and reduced that to an 8-year prison sentence with the final year suspended.